Okay, good morning, everyone. How are you all doing today? It's nice and bright here in Calgary, loving the sun. It's a bit cold, but yeah, I'll take the sun even if it's cold any day. So welcome again. And I can see Daniel is already saying hi to Kim. That means he's been here before. Hi, Daniel. How are you doing? Welcome, and we'll start right away. So this is part three of the four-part series, your first 30 days setting your business up for success webinar with Kim Oleski. And the last two have been like really, really, really amazing. I know that you've touched on how to start when you don't know what to sell and getting your first clients through genuine curiosity without ever being salesy. So looking forward to what we have today. I'll just introduce myself and we'll kick it off here. I'm Yoinfami Lucy, Director Small Business Strategist from Business Link, and I want to thank you again for joining us on this webinar today. And at Business Link, we are honored to provide services to all entrepreneurs and specialty services to our immigrants and Indigenous entrepreneurs as well. We are inclusive in our cultural understanding and awareness of the histories of our country. And with that in mind, we will start this event with a land acknowledgement to recognize all of Alberta. We want to acknowledge that in the province of Alberta, we are situated on the traditional territories of Treaties 4, 6, 7, 8, and 10, ancestral homelands of diverse First Nation groups, Métis, and Indigenous people whose ancestors have walked this land since time immemorial and whose histories, languages, and cultures continue to influence our vibrant community. We pay respects to the Indigenous people of this land, past, present, and future, while recognizing their cultural heritage, beliefs, and relationship to the land on which we reside. So thank you very much again for joining us. Who was here the first time or the second time? Let me just see. Oh, just put in the chat up. Oh, Luz, me, Brenda, Tara, nice, Kendra, awesome. Lots of Daniel, nice. Yay, we have lots of people here. They're really good, right? Yeah, Kim is amazing. We love Kim at Business Link. So for those of us who are new to this, I'd just like to introduce Kim. And Kim is the president, KO Advantage Group. She's listed as LinkedIn top sales influencer and continuously named as one of the top sales leaders to follow. She's Startup Canada's Women Entrepreneur and Success Magazine's most inspirational blogger. Kim has been selected to speak at HubSpot's Inbound every year since 2017. In 2014, Kim courageously quit her life to backpack solo around the world. When she returned, she turned her passion for sales into one of North America's fastest growing sales training programs, KO Sales U. Her third book, Sell More Faster, is available for now wherever you buy books. So welcome, Kim. And just a quick reminder to everyone joining us again, keep your audio and video off during the presentation. I myself will be turning my video off because my internet is really crazy today. If you would like to ask a question during the webinar, please click in the chat and type a message into the chat box. There will be questions throughout the presentation. Kim's sessions are always very interactive, so please participate. The more you interact, the more value we all get. And just also note that the information provided in this session is for general knowledge and should not be taken as professional advice. So that's it for me. Over to you, Kim.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Yogan. That was a absolutely wonderful introduction. I'm already seeing lots of names that I recognized before. Hello to everybody who has said yes to me. Hello, Brenda. Hello, Tara. Hello, Daniel. Hello, Linda, Carly. So many of you are here for another time around. I am so excited to be doing this because we're going to be talking about part 3 of 4. If you have been following us along and you are doing the work, you have already started to see the results. If you haven't, get back to the recordings, get back to the information. Trying to get to sales does not happen by hoping and praying that by osmosis, if we sit there with the book on our head, it's going to allow us to do it. We actually have to do the reading. We have to do the activities. You could go ahead and watch as many cooking shows on Netflix as you absolutely want to. I promise you that the only thing that you will be good at just by watching the show will be on the show Nailed It versus like the Great Cooking Challenge. You actually have to be in the heart of it. You have to be ready to get your hands dirty, get to cracking the eggs. Yes, Brenda's already got 2 clients. Thank you, Brenda. That is an absolutely wonderful testimonial. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Those that do will see the work. And it was actually one of the people on here that reached out to me. She told me, I actually put a quote in here from her specifically, and she goes, "I can't believe this happened." And I said, "You better believe it." I said, "Because here's the reality. I have done this year over year. This is actually an even better version of what we've done with Business Link in the past. And only 1% of the people that we will talk to throughout the entire 4 weeks will actually take action, will actually see the results. 1%." And she was like, "You got to be kidding me." But I will tell you from experience, today for this webinar, Joette told me that we had 95 people registered. I can guarantee you that less than 10 people out of the 95 that are registered will do something today, because moving forward is going to take us more preparation, not less. We have to do the work in order to get there. This is part 3 of the entire series. So what we've already covered, and we're going to talk about this in a second here, but we are moving forward. And at this point in time, you should be at a place, if you have followed along, where you are ready to meet with your clients, where you are ready to go ahead and say, "I want to have these meetings." Or if you're like Brenda, you've already closed them, which is fantastic. So for those of you who are brand new to this is maybe the first one out of all 3 that you see, I want to be very clear. The conversations that we're going to have are not for every single business owner. If you are not in this ideal category, take what you will from it, but do not hold me against anything else. But really, if you fall in this category, you have started your business in the last 12 months and you haven't generated any money. You are starting in the next 3 months and you're serious about gaining a profit. You are probably selling some type of business to business service. There could be a product tied to it, but rather it is a business to business service. You are going to do this. 2 days ago, I was being a mentor for a group called Founder Institute. It's a whole bunch of specifically technology startups. And the technology startups were having these conversations and they were getting feedback from it. Everything I am teaching you today, these startup founders had to pay for. They are paying for the exact same knowledge that you are getting today. So you need to take this for what it is. Okay, so what have we covered? We're already 2 parts of the way through. We got started on what to sell when you don't know what you're selling, right? How do you decided that you are an entrepreneur, but how do we get started? That is okay, right? We've got through that. Number 2, how do we get through our first few clients? Now, it was a very specific message on how do we reach out to people. It was very heavy. I know we covered a lot in a very short period of time, But in all honesty, number one, that is a module that we would typically spend 3 hours covering, and we were able to do it in just under an hour. So you have to take it for what you are. But if you took it, if you took the advice, you will get there. Today, we're going to be covering the prospect now agreed to meet. If you sent off those messages, hands down, you have received somebody coming back and is like, yeah, I'm interested. Yes, I would love to hear from you. Yes, we can definitely book a meeting. And I will give you examples of that, of how it's already happened. And in 2 weeks' time, we're now going to be closing the business, unless you're already like Brenda, who has already closed 2 clients and she's already popping champagne. Oops. I'm popping my earbuds out here. She's already popping champagne, but I want the rest of you to pop champagne, because did you know, if you didn't know, now you know, champagne is the cheapest in the month of December than any other time. So what a better time to go ahead and buy that bubbly. Now, the reality is you can get there on your own. Even if you don't follow exactly what we do, you're going to be able to get there. The truth is you will. The difference is, are you wanting to go with a map or no map? When you show up to a new location, a new city for the very first time, maybe it's even as simple as the museum. You show up there. Do you choose to go with a map, or do you just wander through and aimlessly go through, only to get to the end and be like, oh, I completely missed that exhibit. I didn't see where that was, and now you're having to backtrack? Or do you set your time accordingly and go through it? Yoyan, in my introduction, she says, I went and traveled the world. I tell you what, I traveled with a lot of maps. Yeah, they could have been digital, but every day I would sit there before my day and say, what are some of the things that I want to see? And I would pinpoint them on Google Maps, and then I would actually look at the track that I was going on. I'm like, oh, since I'll be walking past that area, I may be able to also take a look at this. Since I'm walking past that, maybe I'll go in this district where they have really good lunches. I promise you, I made really good, effective use of my time. I felt way less stressed out. Yes, it was a little bit prepared, but at the same time, I knew where I was going to go. Yeah, and I'm seeing already, you guys, I have all the chat open, so go ahead and feel free to put in anything that you want to. But I am going to drop some truth bomb on you right here, okay? This is a statistic from the US small business, right? Granted, they're not exactly the same, but they're pretty close. 61% of small businesses will make less than $100,000. For most of us, when we started our business, $100,000 was like that, if I could get there, I feel like I made it. Now, what we don't have in here, okay, is number one, that $100,000 is only revenue and not profitability. This is why a lot of companies, even when they get to that revenue, feel like, why do I feel like I'm still working harder and making less than I was when I was working for another company? Because revenue is not the same as profitability. We are not going to go through that today, but I will next class. We're going to talk about pricing and ensuring that you're pricing in a way that allows you to be much more profitable and in a way that allows you to grow. But the other reality here is that means 39% of you, despite the fact that you may decide that you're going to go with a map, working harder and making less than I was when I was working for another company, because revenue is not the same as profitability. We are not going to go through that today, but I will next class. We're going to talk about pricing and ensuring that you're pricing in a way that allows you to be much more profitable and in a way that allows you to grow. But the other reality here is that means 39% of you, despite the fact that you may decide that you're going to go with a map or no map, 39% of you will only achieve this or greater. Okay. I want you to look at the list of people that are on this thing. There's 39 people right now in here. That means out of all of you, only 13 people will ever make more than $100,000 in their company. Are you choosing to be one of those 13? Or are you choosing to be one of the other 68? And that is a question up to you. I'm going to give you how to do this as we go forward. Now, we have gone through some materials and we've gone through a lot of different things. I want to be clear here. You are getting like the Coles Notes version. You are getting the boot camp version, right? This is like, how do you get started? How do you stop? If you went to the gym, this is that day they sign you up in the gym and they sign you up for that 3 hours of personal training for free. And you're like, yes, but that's only going to get you started. That is only going to get you to that point where you need to. And if this is feeling a little bit fast, I promise you our normal classrooms don't go this fast, but we're only touching the tip of the iceberg. The program that we cover goes much, much deeper into this, but this does give you exactly what you need. I am not here to give you lip service and say, hey, here's what you can do and only get you halfway there. If you are going to go all the way, then do it. Don't go halfway. Okay, so I saw a bunch of you had already written in that you were done. This is your first time, your second time that you've attended all three. Whatever it is, we're going to do a real quick homework check-in time. So get ready. I want to see this in the chat. I have my chat open. I will kick out anybody that doesn't put anything in the chat. From the first two webinars, here was your homework assignments, okay? Number one, you had to list out your list of 100, right? A, you've already accomplished that. B, you use the direct messaging template that we covered in our last class, and you started connecting with people, right? Number C, you booked a free strategy session with my team, either the last time, the time before, or maybe in both times. Or D, none of the above. Which of these did you choose? A, B, C, D, right? Maybe a combination of the two. I want to see that in there because I'm going to tell you that if you're not doing the homework, you can't receive the results. All right, Sandy's done A and C. Yeah, we have
Nice.
iPhone who's done A. Yeah,
Mhm.
go ahead, Yo-Yo. What are you seeing in there? Tell me.
Yeah, Tasha, Tasha just made me laugh. Is there an awkward silent symbol on here somewhere? Sarabjit has done ABC, Genevieve A, Kate A and B, Brenda A and C, Masha A and C, Fred A. Tara says not 100, but yes, B and yes to C. Rita, this is your first session, so you haven't done any of the above. Yeah, so we have a number of people here who have actually done at least one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of people that have at least done A. A few of you have done C. Not too many B's. Okay, you guys, it is time to start connecting with people. There is no time like the present. There's I think it was Anne Rind that said, if not now, when? Right? When are you planning to do this? And if you're choosing the D, I will give forgiveness to those that this is your first session because you're going to be like, oh, I got lots to catch up on. For those of you that haven't done this, for those of you that haven't done the work, we're going to continue to move. We're a race horse on a race track right now. And you might still be standing at the gate and you're looking around at all these other race horses around you that are running past and you're still wondering, when do you start? Okay. The other horses have already taken off and you're still standing there asking yourself when to start. Find out what that question is, because here we go. One of you actually came back to me on here. I'm not going to name her. If she wants to actually say who it is, she can go ahead. But she says, holy smokes, your training is so effective. And the first company she contacted offered her a position. Yeah, absolutely. Right. So, I mean, imagine that. Now, whether she decides to take that position or not is entirely up to her. But that's huge. That's already money in the bank, right? She could either take it, she can come back and say, you know what, listen, I am not ready for hire, but I'm willing to do some contracting services. I'm doing anything. We're talking about revenue. You already saw from Brenda in there that she signed two clients, right? So we already know the two people out of the 100 who are going to be the other 8 that are going to do this. Yeah, absolutely. So here's the thing is if you're falling behind or you're not ready, I'm going to give you this a little bit early. Go to bit.ly ko meeting and get your meeting booked right now. Okay. Now, at the end of this, I'm only going to offer this for the 10 people, but the reality is that if the 10 people have already booked it, you're going to get an error on this. So I would recommend you doing this now. And if you wait for perfect conditions, you'll never get anything done. I believe this so much. I'm a recovering perfectionist myself. I used to be the one of those people that would have everything spreadsheeted out, and I would sit there and I would ask. And I remember my very first sales position, my very first sales position. I had my list of clients that my company provided me and said, "Kim, you need to call them." And for the first 3 days, I sat at that desk and I agonized over this list. And I went to every single website, and this is before the days of LinkedIn. I went to every single website. I searched up every single person I thought it was. It was like I was sitting there and waiting to show up at their website, and a big flashing banner would show up and say, "We're shopping for your services. We need a new accountant. We need an HR outsourcing consultant." I was waiting for it, and it never happened. Of course, it didn't happen. Right. But I sat there and I remember sitting there and crying. I was crying over this because now I was giving myself so much anxiety, so much stress. I was like, I don't think I can do this. And it was one of my sales colleagues at the time. And he says, "Why have you been staring at that sheet for 3 days?" And I said, I'm waiting. I'm waiting. And he's like, "What are you waiting for?" And he found the first number on that list and he picked it up and he dialed it and he says, "It's for you." And now I had to force myself to get through that. And it was a terrible phone call. And the emails were terrible and everything, but we got through it. I believe in this so much that taking any action is better than taking no action. And I believe that we actually, in a KO Advantage group, we turned our number 3 value into done is better than perfect. You will not become perfect. You cannot become master chef without doing a few failures in the kitchen. You cannot eventually sell your services without stumbling and falling over your words or having a few rejections. That is just the reality. And the other reality is that if there was a way of creating the perfect email, the perfect phone call, the perfect pitch that would get you 100% of the clients to agree to meet and buy 100% of the time, I would have bottled it. And trust me, I would be a billionaire right now. Unfortunately, I'm not a billionaire yet. We'll say yet, but the reality is that you have to go through it. Okay? So let's start off with this. We're going to be talking about meetings here. But before we talk about meetings, I want to know, why are we in business? And go ahead and put it in the chat for yourself. Why do you think you're in business? This is going to really impact us when we talk about the meetings. Because if we don't know why we're in business, if we don't know why we're here, why are we asking to take up somebody else's time? Lewis says he has to have a purpose. I would love for you to expand on that. Independence, because I want to do something else that would give me a calling. I want to help others. Yeah, right. We want to help make a better place for Alberta, get through muddy situations. Yes, all of this, right? And I mean, everybody who's putting something in there, right? And diversity, inclusion, yeah. And then I mean, and I want to be clear here, unless you are a charity as well, hopefully it's also to make a certain level of profit, right? Unless your business is going to be a charity, which absolutely you can have a social economic position in there, right? I mean, even our company, we give 1% of all of our profits to the Nature Conservancy of Canada. um, but you can still make a profit, right? Because it's not about necessarily the money. It's about what the money will do for us, what the money will do for our clients and our future clients, and be able, yeah, what's that, right? This with this profit line, right? At the end of the day, what I heard from all of you essentially was the reason why you're in business was to help create a dream, right? You have a dream for yourself, and maybe this is a visualization of a dream that you would want. I know for me, like, I would do anything to have that view right now. Unfortunately, mine is like all white from the outside of my Calgary window, but it is a dream that I absolutely have. And the dream there is to not only help my employees, to help myself, to help my clients, it's to have that life of independence. It's to be able to create something greater than I could have had I decided to work for someone else. This is why, as entrepreneurs, we are the dreamers or the crazies, whichever one you want to think. Maybe some of us are a little bit of both, but we go because we believe in the future something will be better. That because of our impact, if we continue doing what we're doing, the future will be better. Yeah. Right. Okay. Why are your clients in business? And if you don't have clients just yet, I imagine you're imagining your future clients. So go ahead and like even put that in the chat now, right? Why are your clients in business? What are they hoping to do? Oh, it's a little, oh, okay, okay. Now we got some. Okay. I was thinking it was a little bit too quiet. I'm like, maybe this is the stumper here, right? But here we have to feed Albertans and
Yeah,
their families. Yeah, go ahead, Yoyan.
to
Go
make
ahead.
money and create better communities, helping others like me. Tasha says solving someone else's problems and make money.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
hmm,
absolutely, right? Now,
yep.
would anyone here say that their clients are in business for any significantly different reasons than you yourself are in business, right? Hopefully the answer is no, right? Yeah, Tasha, no, absolutely not. Our clients are not in business for any other different reason, right? Clients, they're just like us, right? There's there's a All People magazine, right? And they would show you all these pictures of celebrities. They're just like us, and it would show like Britney Spears going out for like a Starbucks, and it would be like J Lo getting her hair done at a salon. Celebrities are just like us. Clients, they're just like us. And our clients would probably have dreams and ambitions and goals in the same way. They have something that they truly want. They want to make things better, but they also want to do it in a way that is meaningful, that has a reflection of that. And whatever that dream is, we're not ones to say that it's not enough. So we're going to come back to that moment in a second here, but this is why people ultimately will succeed in their meetings and why they won't. Because oftentimes we don't put that connection in place and we don't ask ourselves those critical questions. Why are our clients in business? And how do we help them? And by not asking ourselves those questions, ultimately we're failing to have the preparation we need to have a successful meeting. We go in there, we get so excited. The client has finally agreed to meet with us, and we're like, this is incredible. This is amazing. And then we show up and we're ready to wing it. Like, I don't understand, right? If you were like Connor McDavid from the Edmonton Oilers and you're going ahead and you're saying, hey, coach, I know we worked really hard to get to the playoffs, but now that we got here, I'm good for practices. I don't need to show up. Just put me on the ice and I promise I'll do whatever you need me to do. The coach would be like, are, are you kidding yourself right now? Like, are you serious right now? You're going to spend less time practicing now that we're in the playoffs than you did before we got there. It is the same thing that when we're in a client meeting, you spend all this time trying to prepare that perfect phone call, that perfect client, that buyer persona. Then you finally get that meeting and you're like, this is awesome, right? I'm good, right? Now I've done it. I've gotten to the playoffs. This is fantastic. But the reality is we don't celebrate just getting to the playoffs. We are in it to win it. And if you are failing to prepare at this point in time, just be prepared to fail. You are going to be out. It's going to be somebody's going to be handing you a broom because you are going to be out in a sweep, right? Somebody is going to mop the floor with you. Okay. This is a scene called How I Met Your Mother. It's an episode called The Naked Man. And in The Naked Man, ultimately, this gentleman on the right-hand side here, he's on this date. And the date is not going very well. He's like, I almost have no chance of ever getting forward with this person. So I have my move. And my move is called the Naked Man. And he goes ahead and he invites himself up for just to use the washroom or something else like this. And while the person is out of the room, he goes and he strips himself down completely. And he says, oh my goodness. He's like, yeah. And we have beers like, do soon. You're absolutely right. Right. Because what does he say? He's like, well, I have no chance of ever getting all the way. So I might as well try to go for something. And maybe 1 in 3 will eventually say yes, right? Now, the reality is that oftentimes when we go into our first meeting, we think that what we need to prepare for is not for like the conversation, not for helping to take and seduce the person. Like, we're not here to seduce, don't get me wrong, but I want you to think of it like this. We're not here to like ultimately get that relationship going. We just go ahead and our whole preparation includes, let me show them all my goodies and hopefully the person will say yes. I'm going to show them everything I have, right? We get to that meeting and the client says, well, great, like, what are we meeting about? And I want to show you a presentation and a proposal, and I want to tell you what I've done for other clients and how amazing it would be for us to work together and what I think that these are all the problems that you have. And at the end I say, hey, listen, you know what, if this sounds really good, why don't you contact me when you're ready? Do you think I will ever be contacted from a client in that case? I've just essentially pulled the same as a naked man. If I am lucky, I will get 1 in 3. Now, this guy had pretty good odds, I want to say that, because I've seen people do this, whether they are demoing, whether they're preparing presentations, whether they are throwing everything at the client. And the client's like, I don't think so. So, what we actually want to do in our presentation is not show them everything. Luz, I'm gonna challenge you on that a little bit here, right? Specifically in this one. There could be pain, but the pain is going to be a little bit different than what you might have accepted it as. Where what the pain is actually what it should be is the pain of I deserve to be somewhere else, as opposed to I have this pain that I need solved. This is not the idea that I have a scratch that I need to have a band-aid on this wound, but rather that I deserve to be somewhere else. And I'm going to use this example here in a second, because I'm going to take you guys back here, right? We're okay. We have gone in reverse. We are in 2019, and in November of 2019, it was a glorious time, because this is typically when WestJet would be showing you all of their vacation packages, and we were salivating because they would show you this quick 30-second commercial, and the first thing they would say is, hold on, Edmonton, there is 40 centimeters of snow coming your way. And they would show some poor woman who would now have to wrap herself up in this parka and trudge through the snow. The ice crystals are already forming on her eyelashes before she even gets there. And she gets to her car only to like, the battery is dead. And it is a 10-hour wait for AMA. Oh my goodness. And they're like, she could have chosen better. And in the next scene, that same woman is now transported to the beaches of Cancun, where she has shed that parka and is now wearing a bikini. She is not trying to fight wind-swept ice and snow, but rather white sand beaches and a calm ocean breeze. Oh, and she's getting her tan on with a margarita in her hand. All right, everyone in the chat, what does WestJet sell? We'll give you here a second. Yo-Yin's going to be all over this.
Karen says hope. They're selling hope. I think they're selling the sun.
They sell the sun? Yeah, maybe.
Karen said the warm weather. Sarah said pleasure. Come on, guys. Service anchor. Oluwafemi says an alternative. Tara says the holiday, not the trip. Tasha says, I know the answer. Don't want to cheat.
It's a common one I use, but it's so effective. Okay. So the reality is all of you are wrong. Oh, I know. Doesn't that hurt? All of you are wrong. And the reason why you're wrong is because nobody goes up to a WestJet counter and says, I would like one service, please. I would like one warmth, please. No. What you literally buy from WestJet is a seat on a plane. And reality is actually don't even buy that seat. You rent that seat. If WestJet says we have the best 6-hour seat rentals you've ever had, nobody would ever buy that seat, because the reality is that air travel in general actually sucks, right? You're typically showing up to the airport, you're trudging along all of these bags, you now have been cattle called onto a plane, and you're trying to stuff your bag into the overhead or undercarriage bin. You're like, oh, this sucks, I'm so stressed out. And they say, that's okay, you have this wonderful leather seat, it's so amazing, it's got this wonderful tray back. And but don't worry, if you're stressed out, you can get one of our overpriced $10 cocktails. I would recommend that you order two right now, because it might be a few hours before you see us again. And you're like, oh, I want to be anywhere else but here, right? Like, I don't want to be on the plane. We're not excited to be on the plane. Although I will tell you, next week I'm flying off to Kelowna, and I am really excited to be on that plane. But the reality is we're not selling the plane. We're not selling the seat. We're not selling the way we get there. We're not talking about 30,000 feet in the air for 6.5 hours. But we're not selling what we're done when we're finished either. Because when WestJet delivers you to the Cancun airport, they wipe their hands clean. And they say, thank you so much for flying with WestJet. We know you had all other alternatives. And that is it. That is the extent of WestJet's experience. Yet in that commercial, they don't show you arriving at the airport. They show you on the beach. There's a reason why you underwent that painful, terrible experience. It's not because of what the experience is, but what it will do. What it is, but what it does. And when they focus you on what comes next, what comes next, what comes next, and that 7 to 10 day Cancun vacation, that's truly what we want. When you're talking about your products or services, it is not about the implementation. It is not about the process of working with me. It is when I'm done working with you that is truly what I want, which is going to bring us to this point about meetings. Okay? Because people are going to ultimately buy on emotion and then justify with logic. I got you so excited about being on the beaches of Cancun. Whereas if we would have logically talked to you about aviation and what it looks like to fly, you'd be like, what? I don't want to be on a plane for the plane's sake. I want to be on a plane because of what it does. Where do I get to next? Understand the reasons why your clients are buying, because they're out there to create their own dreams as well. Chances are your product or service is not their dream. But once they're finished with your product or service, and what comes next is ultimately going to be a part of that dream. When we do our own sales training, we go through this entire sales process. But today, what we're going to be focusing on is going to be right in this heart of the meetings with the client. Whether we're talking about lead qualification or value creation, they're going to overlap at some point. And we're not going to specifically talk about one versus the other, but I'm going to give you at least the first points on what you need to do. And as long as you do that, I promise you next week, or not next week, 2 weeks later, when we talk about closing that sale, getting that pricing structure, doing the proposal, you're going to get it. You're going to get that deal, even if it's not formulated, because I don't need to know exactly what seat I'm sitting in to determine whether I'm going to fly with WestJet or not. All I want to know is, when I get on that plane, will you get me to the resort of Cancun? Yeah, we'll do that. Awesome. That's all I care about. That's all I really care about. So the way we're going to do this is, instead of trying to pull the naked man and showing off all the goodies, I'm going to give you a presentation. I'm going to prepare all of this information for you. I'm going to do this pitch deck. That is not being in control. In a sales cycle, it's the person that asks the questions that owns the conversation. It's the person that is understanding where the client wants to go to. If you like watching legal dramas, right? Like How to Get Away with Murder, for instance, and Viola Davis walks into the courtroom, she's not there telling everybody what it is they need to do. She's asking very specific and pointed questions. And through the questions and the responses that she's getting, she now has crafted the story, which the jury ultimately says, yes, we agree, or yes, we don't agree. Yes, that is what we want. Okay? It's the person that asks the questions that owns that conversation. When you're doing your preparation, don't spend all your time preparing what your business case is going to look like, or why people are going to work with you, or what your competitive solution is. Work on the questions you need to find out from your client to be able to get them to that focus. Because what we'll remember, what we just talked about, was that your client was only in business for one reason: to create their dreams. And if your client can only create their dreams by getting one thing, which is more of their own clients, as long as I am selling to my clients, I am more likely to create my dreams. I'm more likely to create an impact on Albertans. I am more likely to be able to spend more money on research and development. The more revenue I have coming in, the more I can invest in research and development and turn this into a circular reference as we go forward. The more money I have coming in, the more I can do whatever I need to do to get my own dreams. And yet you're sitting here off in the corner acting like it doesn't apply to you. It does. I did a great posting today on LinkedIn. And I said the reason why so many people are failing in their business, their business conversations, is because they're having a conversation with their client. Listen, Mr. or Mrs. Customer, hire me. I am amazing because I can do something for better, cheaper, faster, more efficiently than you ever have been. And the reason why that fails is because that is assuming to the client, essentially what we're saying to the client is, I know the revenue we're making is all the revenue we're ever going to make. And if you want to get more profitable, what we're going to do is we're going to help cut away from some of the expenditures, ultimately increasing your bottom line. But that's not what I want. I don't want to stay where I am and just hopefully do something cheaper, better, faster. I want to grow. I want to have more clients. I want to have more profitability, not by cutting my expenditures, but by being able to increase what it is I want. And if you're going to tell me about how I'm going to be able to do that by shaving something I've already have, I'm not really interested. You sound like everyone else. I posted a clip specifically from There's Something About Mary, right? Ben Stiller's driving along and he goes and he picks up a hitchhiker, and the hitchhiker says, I have the best idea. It's the next $1 million idea. And Ben says, what is it? And he goes, you know the guy that created 8-minute abs? He goes, I have something better. Who beats 8-minute abs guy? If you know the answer, go ahead and put in the chat. If I had 8-minute abs, what is something better than 8-minute abs? 5-minute abs, Tara's already ahead of it, right? 5-minute abs, it's 6-minute abs, right? If you have 8-minute abs, you're gonna go to 7-minute abs, right? And if they're not happy, he goes, and if they're not happy with 7-minute abs, I'm going to give them the extra minute for free. Right, I'll give them the extra minute. Now they're 8-minute abs, but they've only had to pay for 7-minute abs. And Ben Stiller's like, yeah, that's really cool. And he goes, but what happens when somebody comes up with 6-minute abs? He's like, no, that's not possible, right? We can't do 6-minute abs because we're 7-minute abs, right? This is the reality: is that if you're going in saying, I can do it for better, cheaper, faster, what happens when the next guy comes in and says, well, I can do it for better, cheaper, faster than that, right? I can do it cheaper. I can do it faster. Okay, well now we're racing to the bottom. Whereas somebody completely different comes in and says, listen, let them argue about who can do the expenses least. Let me show you how an investment with me is going to help get you more. Every dollar you spend with me is going to help get you to $4 or $10. I was chatting with a gentleman just before this webinar, and he says, people hire our marketing services not because we save them money. We really don't. But what we do is every dollar they spend with us, they spend $1,000 with us, we make them $10,000. Okay. Now, if I did the same thing to you, or you did the same thing to your clients, you said, listen, customer, for every dollar you spend with us, we're going to help make that even more. When you spend $1,000 with us, we're going to help make that 10,000. When you spend $5,000 with us, we're going to turn that into $25,000. Would somebody start listening? Yeah. And Brenda's like, yeah, that's the value. But the difference is that now I have to talk to them about the one thing that's most important to them: getting more clients. How is your conversation going to help me? As if I'm your client, how are you going to help me get more clients? And this is the difference, right? You have to be thinking bigger than what everyone else is doing. Okay. So some of those questions that we're going to have, like these are your bare non-negotiables in every single meeting. And even if you're not quite clear on what your service or product is yet, you can still get your first clients. In week number 1, we talked about selling it first and creating it later. And some of you are really stuck in that how. How do we do this? All right. I said, don't worry about the how, just go along in the steps. Now here we are in step 3. Some of you are still trying to figure out how to do it in step 1, but those that have already done it have already started to see the impact of their conversations and have started to see their business start to grow. What I do not want to do is I don't want to tell my client what they need. I don't want to tell them what the problem they have, and I don't want to tell them where they should be. What I do want to do is ask the questions and find out from them what they think it is. Because anything I tell my client is up for skepticism. Anything I ask my client and my client tells me is now their truth. And all I take is all of these truths that they have come up with and ultimately created a better solution. What is your goal? I don't need to tell my client what their goal is. I'm sure they've already clearly defined it. And if they haven't, like, honestly, this is a great time to think about what that is. If I can't help my client get to their goal, how can I also stand there in confidence and say, even though you don't know what your goal is or we don't know what it is together, I promise you we will get there. That's a terrible way. I want to find out from my client what it is. What is the challenge to you growing? Not what is the problem you're facing. I was speaking with one group of business owners and they said, but Kim, it's so much harder to talk to a client about their goals than it is about like the challenges that they're going on. And I said, is it? I said, because if someone was asking me the differences, what is your goals versus what are the things that you're doing wrong in your business? Or what are the things that you wish you could do differently? I said, hands down, I would always talk about my goals. I said, because my goals are out there. And if I don't reach my goals, that's because of all these things, unassuming factors that had already happened. Whereas if you want to immediately start talking about my challenges, what you're essentially asking me is, hey, can you show me all the skeletons in your closet? And me as a stranger, I'm more than happy to help clear those out for you. No, I don't want to show you the skeletons in my closet. I don't want to open the kimono and show you everything that I have going on. And if I do, I'm probably not going to be 100% honest, at least in meeting number 1. Where I would be more likely to be honest is actually telling you what my goals are, because that's out there. That's not, we're here. Why is nothing available? Why are you not able to find what you're looking for? What are you looking for? Why haven't you found a solution to whatever it is, right? What would be ideal? What are you ideally looking for? Now, what you'll notice with all of these questions is most of them are 5 words or less. Why does that matter? Because when we talk about a simpler question, it's easier for you to get a more authentic and genuine answer. I'm not having to discern from a whole bunch of different types of information. When somebody asks me, what does success look like for you? It's very open, but it allows me to then tell you what's most impactful. What do you mean by success? Whatever you want, right? What is your goal? Well, what type of goal? Whatever goal is most important to you, what is it? Okay. What it will also tell me is if somebody answers immediately with a financial conversation, they're probably more of an analytical person. If somebody's like, "Well, I just want to have independence. I just want to be free." That tells me that we're going to have a bigger emotional conversation and I'm going to tap into that. But I need to find out the answers to these before we can even create a solution. The nice thing is that as we're getting the answers to these questions, you're going to be better able to help the client get to the solution that they wanted. This is exactly why we talked about in week number 1, sell it first, create it later. When I first started my company, I had 2 companies specifically in the States that came back to me and said, "Kim, we would love to do what you just taught." And I said, "That's great. What would you like it to look like? What would be ideal for you? How will we measure the success?" And we kind of went through this. And then eventually we came to a solution. I'm like, okay, well, if I could just train your team on what we did, would that work? And they, yeah, like that would be perfect. awesome. And we started to go ahead and we created the solution together. They paid me to go ahead and create it with them, which is ultimately what became the beginning of KO Advantage Group. Before that was ultimately an incorporation. Tara's asking a question. When you ask these questions, you should be at, these are meeting number one questions, Tara. All right, the first meeting that you have with a client, these are where they are. So last time we talked about using that template to get you the meeting. When somebody has said yes to that meeting, right, which I promise you, if you have sent at least 10 of those requests out, you're going to have one person say yes to a meeting. And some of you are going to have as many as 4 out of 10 say yes to that meeting. So this is like, you should already have somewhere between 1 to 4 meetings booked. And if you didn't, you should have already connected with me and my team to get that next meeting booked, because you're going to be falling behind. You're going to have the other racehorses are going to be crossing the finish line, and you're still standing at the front gate asking, so when do we start? The race is over, right? You want to ask these questions in meeting number one. Now, in virtual selling, and I would be remiss if I didn't specifically talk about virtual sales. So I added this one slide in here very quickly. We talk a lot about virtual sales in our program because I truly believe that is the way of the future. Even as an example for our company, we generate more money today in the States than we do in Canada. And I have not stepped on a plane since February. Okay, so that speaks to how valuable this can be for your company. You have to be better prepared in your virtual selling environment. You want to make sure that when you're setting the agenda, you're letting the client know what you're going to be speaking about, that you're setting those agendas with questions, not with this is what we're going to be discussing, but rather you could even send some of these questions. I wouldn't send all of them. I would pick your top 3 in here. But send them like, what is your goal for the next 6 months? Question number 2 might be something along the lines like, what do you ideally want, or what's ideally an ideal situation for you? And then maybe question number 3 is what's stopping you from getting there. Right now, they might seem very vague, but what will end up happening is one of 2 things. The client's going to be like, oh, wow, this person's really prepared. Or number 2, they're going to take that and they're going to run with it. And they're going to ask maybe people on their team, or they're going to ask other people, like, what are the answers to these questions? So that you can have a more effective meeting, not a less effective meeting. Remember, fail to prepare, prepare to fail. Okay. Now, the other thing we see in virtual sales is that our meetings need to be much more condensed, right? We are going to have far better and higher value conversations in a shorter period of time, but it's going to be brief, be bold, be gone, right? Your first meeting should only be 20 minutes. If your first meeting is more than 20 minutes, you have now wasted my time. And the reason why is because through an online method, our attention spans are already so cross. In that first meeting, you don't know if I'm sitting there also on my phone, sending some emails, checking what's happening on LinkedIn. And chances are some of you are already doing so. I've called it out on you. But in 20 minutes, now we are ultimately getting that conversation going. And then when we get to minute 18, what I get to say is, listen, Anka, this has been a really valuable conversation, and I would love to continue on. Can we book another time for this? And now we have meeting 2 booked. In the event that in 20 minutes, as the salesperson, I can't quite figure out what the value is going to be for this person, or I'm not sure where I'm going to take it, what I end up doing is saying, thank you so much for your time. Was this valuable for you? And the person's like, yeah, awesome. Well, thank you. And we take off. I am not going to waste my time with time wasters anywhere. Okay. Meeting number 2 is now 45 minutes. Okay. We're not talking about hour-long meetings anymore. And unless you really need an hour-long meeting, you better have a specific purpose. It's probably going to be like a proposal at that point in time, not an hour-long meeting for meeting's sake. All right, here we go. So you have homework again this week. Hopefully when we talk to you guys at the end in 2 weeks time, when I ask you who has completed their homework, you're all like, yes, 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 I'm ready to close. I'm ready to close. I'm ready to close, because Christmas is going to be coming really fast. I think there's something like 4 selling weeks left before Christmas. So, I mean, let's talk about this, right? Let's make things happen. So number one, if you have not done this already, if you're playing catch up, get it done. Send those messages to your prospects. Get those conversations going, because now we're talking about meetings, and the next conversation we're going to be talking about closing. Do not be the racehorse that's still sitting at the front waiting for the starting gun to go off when everyone else is finished. Number two, join us in 2 weeks' time for number four, and that is the end. That is part 4 of 4. And thank you to Tara. Thank you to Brenda, who are already closing businesses. I promise you, there's still going to be 8 more of you that are going to see some type of results. Are you going to be one of those extra 8 people, or are you going to be one of the people that are going to be sitting there at the 61% that will never hit the goal that you ultimately want to? Okay. Number 3, prepare those questions to ask and have those meetings, because in 2 weeks' time, if you come back to me and you tell me, Kim, I'm ready to close, but I haven't had a meeting yet, I can't help you. I can't help you. I had a one-on-one client way back in the day, and she worked with me. She goes, Kim, your training doesn't work. And I said, okay, fair enough. I said, well, what have you done? Right. I said, because like we've covered through like 20 different topics, and I've asked you to reach out to people and have these conversations and do all this other stuff. I said, how many meetings are you having a week? And she goes, well, I'm not having any. And I said, okay, well, how many people are you reaching out to? She goes, well, I haven't reached out to any. And I said, well, then it's not that it's not, my training doesn't work. It's that you're not doing the work to see it work. You need to do the work if you want to make your business a success. Okay, we have covered a lot in 6 weeks' time already. We have 2 more weeks, and I want to see you now getting paid for this, because you cannot tell me that this does not work if you cannot get to the final meeting. Right? Get to that final meeting, because it's so much sweeter when somebody has already contracted with you. Ask Brenda. Brenda, it is so much sweeter when you have clients already happening, isn't it? If you are determined, if you look at the calendar, you're like, holy smokes, holy smack, it is 4 weeks left to Christmas, and still have no idea how I'm going to get there. We have those 20-minute sales strategy sessions. If you've already have one, you can feel free to book again. Let's keep you going. If you've already booked, awesome. If you have not booked, if not now, when? Because Rob said this actually about our program, but it works just as specifically about this. This is your free condensed version of the program that says, listen, the longer you wait, that's revenue you're missing out on. Are you ready to sit there on January 1st, toasting your champagne and say, oh my goodness, 2021 is going to be the year that everything is going to happen because I've already started to see the wheel turn? Or are you going to cheers on January 1st and say, oh, well, hopefully this year is the year that I finally do something? Because the reality is today is the day that you could have done something. Why do I give this to you? I already told you guys about my value number 3 that we do in our company, which was done is better than perfect. Value number 2 is be the example. Value number 1 is actually a quote taken from Zig Ziglar. So if LinkedIn calls me their most influential sales leader, Zig Ziglar is mine. And I want to share this one with you. And we live and breathe throughout the entire company by this, is that you can have everything you want in life if you help enough people get what they want. Also, is it better to call for an invite to a meeting? Let me get to that one in a second here, B. My company's KO Advantage Group. We're the only subscription-based training company available. You can join us for a month. You can join us for a year. You can continuously go on. We go deep dive into all these topics. And starting in 2 weeks, we're now going to have four classes every single week. You can join for one. You can join for all 4. That is entirely up to you. It is your subscription. But at the end of the day, we're going to help you get more clients, create more high-value conversations, and live a better life. If you just want the slides for today, I think Business Link will be sending them out, but you can connect with us as well. And we'll be sending you updates on different types of webinars, different types of connections. Just go to kimorlesky.com/businesslink. That's me. Thank you. Which one? I know, I know. You're like, no, 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 that's actually me and Oprah, right? I'm like, my husband has laughed at me. He's like, you're happier there than you are in our wedding photos. And I'm like, that is truth. Absolute truth. All right. All right. If you could put one thing you got away from today, but I'm going to ask B's question here. Is it better to call for an invite to a meeting? So I am a big believer in phone calls, but I mean, do what makes sense to you. The other reality is you have to meet your clients where they want to be met. I was reading one thing in LinkedIn. This guy was saying about how he just prefers people just booking in his calendar or sending him a WhatsApp. That's his prerogative, right? I don't like WhatsApp. I prefer email, and I prefer text messaging. Try different types of messages, right? So some people are going to love phone calls, some people are going to love text, some people are going to love email, some people are going to love direct messaging. If you have put that client on your list, that prospect on your list, continue to try until you get to a point where after a year and like maybe 10 touch points, you're like, you know what? It's time to move on, right? Do what you need to do. Yeah, awesome. All right, Yo-Yan.
Oh, thank you so much, Kim. As always, you were fantastic. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And then lots of thank yous, and you did an awesome job on the chat. Yeah, let's give her a round of applause. Thank you, Kendra. That's nice. Yay, yay, Kim. I love what you said about done is better than perfect. I think for me, that's my big takeaway, because yes, we tend to be too in our heads sometimes and not just we think too much instead of doing. So I really like that. I like what the point you made about working on your business as well. We have to put in the work. It's not going to be easy, guys. So thank you so much for this session. It was really, really, really great. So yeah, there you have it, guys. We've come to the end of the session. Just a quick one. If you'd like to contact us at BusinessLink, please email askus@businesslink.ca or call 1-800-272-9675. And as always, we offer one-on-one advice. You can sign up for our newsletter. We have lots of amazing webinars like this. Connect with us on social chat. There are lots and lots of ways to connect with us. Just visit our website at businesslink.ca. And there you have it. So I will send you an email at the end of this webinar later today. And that email will have a copy of the slides as well as a link to the webinar so you can watch it again. So yes, Anka, we will be sending the slides and the video to you as well. So thank you so much again, Kim. And we really look forward to session 404. You were amazing. All right, everyone. Bye.